whilst there's a lot that happened over the weekend, from UTA, SMAC, I've spoken to Yolanda. I'm so glad you came. I spoke to Yolanda on text and I spoke to Kayla. You saw each other out at Westmax.
Going up those stairs at the start. I
I
was
know.
like, I bloody hate these stairs. And she's like, is that you? I'm like, yes.
Anyone who case this weekend, it was theirs with a theme of the occasion. I mean, Lyndall did the 22, but then danced aggressively like the nerdy, cool woman that she is at her daughter's birthday afterwards.
I am paying for that immensely.
Are your hips sore?
Yes. And my calf. Yeah.
I love it, but you got to do it, right?
Yeah. False confidence in that one.
I feel we get so much for those who are thinking about those events, but I think also when you're in a training program, particularly for at the beginning, it's sometimes hard to see the end and how it all kind of comes together. And so hearing people who have kind of gone through that and probably felt a very similar way, I think it's very, very helpful to go through people's experiences. But Sarah, we may as well kick off with yours first because you asked about niggles. How about you put it in your words? Because it's obviously been 3 days or so since you wrote the questions.
Yeah. Everyone's context, I joined 5 or 6 weeks ago and I'm doing the 21 kilometer program. I've always had hypermobile hips, particularly one, which tends to pop out occasionally, which is not great for running. So I've always been quite focused on strengthening that with the right training and stuff. But I think what cropped up for me on my base run on Friday was it started to niggle, then it started to hurt. So I pulled back a bit. I did continue the run because it was all right. But it made me think I actually need to put in place a no-tech strategy for when I'm out running and my hip just starts to feel a bit loose or painful or pops a bit. And I just know exactly what to do in those moments. I did it on Friday. It was a bit funny. So rest day, Saturday, and then the Sunday run. Oh, look, it was the fourth day of my period and I just felt like shit on Sunday. Had a really shit run, but it was a 50-minute run. I think I ran for maybe 35 minutes of that. Just really heavy legs and just not moving like I should. The hip was actually okay. So I'm just going to put that run behind me. And I went home and I saw all the videos of UTA coming through and I felt very inspired again. I do know what that was a shit run, but whatever.
It was hard to not feel inspired. We had a mum and a daughter who ran the whole 50K together. And every time they were arm in arm the whole time. It's like they could have almost been conjoined twins. But they were such a vibe. Bettina finished very close to them. They were just awesome. You can feel that about people you don't know. And so imagine what you're feeling about people that you know their journey. A lot of people who have done races can tell you that their training block very rarely has gone seamless. It feels great when it is, but sometimes we have a tendency to feel we're doing something wrong when it's not, versus accepting this is, and then sometimes having to pull back a little bit. That is the process of trail running. Lauren had her share of challenges. Keely had some work conflicts that affected her ability to do some of the long runs. Bettina had a great block, but you still had things cropping up. There is never such thing as a seamless training block, let me tell you. So, and if you are, we're all kind of jealous. I only recently realized I have hypermobile hips too. Are you doing activation before you go for your runs? Base mile, anything?
A little bit, probably not enough.
That's the first thing. You need to get those glutes firing to take the load off your hips. I'm sure are you a little bit hip dominant? It actually just means we need to strengthen that area more so it doesn't flare out as much. Are you feeling sore going laterally or does it hurt also going up and down?
That's a really good question. I'll have to think about it when I'm doing it. It's more that I can feel when my body starts to get fatigued. I can feel when my form starts to shift and I'm not running how I want to be running. And even if I'm thinking about it and trying to get that technique back to like having a good stance and running forward and things, it's just the hips, they just start to click.
The hips don't lie.
They don't lie and they don't like it. And I can feel it getting heavier and harder. And if the more fatigued I get, the more pronounced it becomes.
So, and the reason I say that is because like the fatiguing just builds. And if you probably need to get a little bit of, maybe a little bit of like manual labor, manual hand therapy to, but I'm sure your glutes now tight and maybe your adductor is even getting tight as well. That's all because of your hips. And if it was just a little bit, you would probably you would be compensating that pain, the fact that you're now feeling a bit of a pain. So I think what you need to do is two things. I mean, obviously this please do see a physio, go and see a specialist in this space. I'll give you these tips. I'm sure Keely can give you some specific strength conversations about this. But I would be simultaneously loosening off, probably around your glute med and your adductors. I think you don't want to be stretching right now. So ease back on the mobility and focus more on stability and activation. And the reason we're going to take a week off is because maybe it's a bit aggravated right now. And so we need to take off the load and do those two things first, and then we can build a bit more strength. But yeah, I would be doing the stability and activation, the 20-minute session, which once you know it, you can do it in 15, easy. You would be doing that before every single run to like fire the glutes. And you just want to be doing more trigger pointing to be able to, your glutes probably take quite a bit, but if they're not strong, it just causes problems all the way the track. So you won't impact your ability to do Yu-Yangs by taking a week off right now. I just don't want you to have to take too many weeks off. So it's so good you noticed it now. And does that approach sound?
I know what I was thinking. Yeah, I do have a good physiotherapist. And I also started thinking about, it was on my period as well. So I actually wonder if the hormones might play a part, because I know that they do that with hips. So I'm actually interested just to see if I just want, take a break this week, because I felt really good, really strong right up till Wednesday. And then it was just Friday's base runs where it felt a bit funny. So I'm keen to just have a break and see how I feel next weekend.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I've got to do more research into this. As you would imagine, when someone has a baby, their ligaments are a lot looser. And so that's why I don't just rush back after having a baby. Even if you feel good, it's like be cognizant of the increased potential for injury because of ligaments being more pliable. And so hormones do affect connective tissue, your joint awareness, your fluid balance, depending on, what your cycle is like, combining it with your already existing mobility in that area, it would make perfect sense. I would journal that kind of stuff because you can't, make a determination off one experience. Each month, I would note down if you're starting to feel certain things. And if that is the case, maybe you pull back on a run the week leading in to your period, and maybe even the week of your period, and we add in an extra strength session. So that's the kind of shifts that you can make, knowing your body and also documenting patterns.
Yeah, thanks.
You picked it up quick. This is good. Probably much more in the past.
You know what happens when I push it, and it just it pops out, and then I'm done for at least a couple of weeks. So we haven't gone that far this week.
Keely, do you have anything on a strength perspective that you think might be relevant?
Well, it's normally kind of the opposite. So if it's your hip, as mentioned, it would be more of a glute, but also hamstring. And if you don't do a lot of single leg stuff, especially with running, that could be really beneficial. So like single leg hip thrusts, glute bridges, balancing as well. So not using a support and doing side step ups instead of how we're going upstairs, like up down, instead doing a lateral step up, getting more of that kind of stability work. So what's been mentioned is going to be the most beneficial because you're already highly loaded on the hip.
Sarah, if you hop on one leg, do you feel it?
After I started feeling the niggles, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to take that week off. Are you feeling it at night time?
Yeah. What was it? Yesterday was Sunday, the long run. All of my legs were just tired yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Like that's just overall heaviness, nothing like particularly like achy.
No, that's what I found, that actually the hip yesterday, it was more the whole legs felt tired yesterday. The hip itself actually held up okay.
Last thing, consider your other stresses, as well as, what's your sleep, what's your nutrition, are you having magnesium, and electrolytes. It might not feel like it's super hot right now, but when you are demanding more of yourself, plus being a working, a lady, we have to treat ourselves even more like an athlete, because athletes actually who do it professionally have a lot more rest. We don't. And it's funny how we often think that we don't need to look after ourselves. I actually think all those things become more critical because our load across many pillars of our life are not only competing, but also high. So all of that stuff, all those 1%ers do play a role, particularly when you're a little bit on the edge.
Thank you.
No problem. So Ash on here. Ash is not on here. But I know there's a couple of spice brains on this call, as well as myself. And Ash's question was, she goes, might feel like a personal question, but isn't it the funny thing? They're all personal because they're all our questions. So, don't ever feel like you need to preface that. She goes, in the mornings, day when my medication is active, my heart rate is sitting higher. She's on Vyvanse. The base runs within my program, the aim is zone 2. When I run in the morning versus evenings after the kids are in bed, my heart rate is different versus perceived effort. should I be keeping an eye on my heart rate more and slow down so that I match this despite the time of day? Perceived effort or to be aiming. So basically, she's saying, she's trying to want to run at a similar pace that used to give her heart rate being at zone 2, but with the meds, her heart rate's going higher. So I don't know if you have control over this, but if you can go for your base run before you have your meds, that's the first win because, and I know you probably want to kickstart it pretty quickly, but I do know that you get up early to do it. I think that's a way of ensuring that, it's not being affected. Second thing is you are still relatively new on medication and it does adapt, but you probably will always have a little bit of a quicker ticker. It is actually really important for you to be in zone 2. Zone 2 is more imperative and it may feel like the pace is a lot slower. I just think we have to honor zone 2 if we want to perform well on our quality sessions and be capable of doing our long runs and recover. And the more we do it, we adapt and the pace gets easier. If you have to put in some walk breaks to bring the heart rate down, please do it. So Ash, try and go for a run first, slow it down to be completely integrous and congruent with what zone 2 is. Don't worry about pace. Ignore pace on zone 2. Does not matter. This is just another version of stress. Doesn't matter where the stress comes from. It is a layer of stress. And then we can go to the doctor. Let's talk about yours because you're kind of similar situation to KB. Actually, there's a few of you who are doing a similar thing. You're wanting to do the trail series. I know I'm doing the Surf Coast Century Relay. It's a bit of a challenging thing for me when people have got a lot of races. And the reason for that is it's kind of like we're dipping in and out of a training program all the time. And it can become complex. And if things don't work out, it's hard to know why it is. For all the 3 of you who are in this situation, I put your names in the coaching call. But I actually recommend you all doing a strength block for 6 weeks with actually very minimal, if any, running. And this is where Keely will be able to kind of jump in as well. Often I kind of do, I have a call with someone, they say that there's no niggles, no nothing. But then as the call progresses on, it's interesting how the actual reveal of how the body is feeling comes out. Sometimes we are so acutely aware of pain and other times we can compartmentalize it to think that it's normal because we're used to kind of hurting. And then other times it's just we don't want it to be so and we want to do all these races. I am not here to tell you not to do, these events. I'm going to always give you a optimal coaching approach whilst also you're in the driver's seat. I think if you're treating a lot of these events as building blocks and because you love the events, it would probably just go a little slower and do it more socially. It's about 6 or 7 weeks till the Surf Coast 4-person relay program kicks off. Keely, whilst I find those dates, can you talk a little bit about the 6-week strength one that we often had as the off-season one? I think the foundation of doing that, even if you do have some, events in September, it just would serve so much considering so many of our women are always running, but they are neglecting strength. It's the first to go, even though they know it shouldn't be. And I also understand why, because if you're not versed in strength and it's meant to complement the run, if the strength is making you sore, so that's why honoring the strength as a block gets you to have that base that when you're doing the strength in the run programs, it's not hurting you. It's switching things on. It's kind of it's very much complementary. Take it away, Gal.
Yeah. So the 6-week strength, I guess the hardest part when you haven't done strength training before is almost the urge that you're not doing enough. And I think that's a really common reason as to why people don't do it or they kind of flick it off because running feels, I guess, exciting. You get your heart rate up, you're sweating. It's a different feeling. And then you go into the gym and you're doing strength work and it is hard, but it's not the same sort of release. So you have to adjust your expectations to how you'll feel, first off. But then second off, what you do in the weight room, 1,000% is going to make you a stronger runner, a faster runner, a more confident runner, even when you're not running, which is really cool because especially if you're new to strength training, that's even more in your favor or your benefit because you get what's called newbie gains, which is pretty much lifting up anything is going to give you results, which is exciting. Whereas I've been lifting for quite a few years now. So I've got to grind to get results. I've got to grind to even add 2 kilos onto my deadlift. Whereas when you're new to strength training, those adaptations happen really quickly and your strength will progress so fast. So that can really help with the motivation, kind of those initial really 6 months of strength training when you introduce it to your routine. The benefits happen really fast. So even if it's the first couple of weeks feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar, you'll already have progress that's going to help keep you motivated and it will take over on the trails, but it does require a little bit of patience. And the 6 week program is 4 days of strength training and they're follow along videos to make it feel a bit more approachable because you could do it at home if you have access to dumbbells and kettlebells. You can also just literally pull up a bench and a couple of kettlebells, some dumbbells, and hide in a corner if you need to in a gym and just play the video and get to work. And it will only take you kind of 30 to 45 minutes, 4 times a week. And I promise it will give you results that you just can't even comprehend now. But then when you go on the trails, things like stairs, hills, up and down, they're just going to be less painful, less when people talk about their knees or their ankles or their hip. I find that goes away or is significantly reduced or a lot more manageable when you are consistent with your strength training.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I have been doing strength training for quite a long time. I go to my local gym. And so with the 6 weeks program, is there videos that I need to be downloading and then making sure at the gym that I'm doing them? Or is it just okay that I'll do whatever strength training I'm doing? I'm just trying to understand and get my head around.
So there'd be a written component. So that way, if you don't want to watch the videos again and again, it's the same set of exercises across the 6 weeks. So once you know the videos, there's a written component that tells you the number of sets, reps, and rest time. So then you could just take that to the gym. And if you're quite comfortable in that setting, then you can progress each week by adapting or applying progressive overload either through adding more weight each week, or you could also adjust the reps. So if it says 10 reps, but you're, say, challenge at this particular weight, so you don't feel ready to go up, you might instead go to 11 or 12 reps because you don't feel maybe ready to increase the weight yet, or so you can make those little adjustments as well. So yeah, you could be able to take that program to your own gym and just take the written form if you don't want to follow along to the videos. But the videos could be useful just to kind of have a quick scan through to make sure that you're familiar with the cues, just because in the videos, there'll be explanations of exactly how to set yourself up for that exercise, how to perform it with women's physiology in mind. So just little adjustments of where you place your elbows that you might not have been taught before so that you can optimize that particular exercise. It'd be worth just scanning through the video to get the cues.
Okay.
But
Would
then
it be worth finding out, Keely, what kind of strength is she doing? Because obviously, there's strength and then there's strength that is specific for women and strength also for running. And, they can be quite different.
I do weight training, and hip races, single leg races, because I have had problem with my hip and knee. So my physiotherapist had given these exercises for me to build and strengthen my leg and hips. So I just incorporated that with the weight training at the gym, as well as just do stretches. I think that's about it. But I do quite a bit of weight training.
And are you applying much load? So are you using dumbbells, kettlebells?
I use dumbbells, kettlebells, and I do the hip raises with weight on my tummy, about 10 or 15K. It's sort of gradually building it up because it wasn't always like that. And there are times where I feel weaker, so I won't do the weight. I'll just do some stretches and core and leave it at that. But, our bodies are strange. Like if I do, say, 10 or 14K run and not pay attention and go fast, I feel my knee is painful. So the next day at the gym, I won't do the heavy lifting or putting the loading on that knee by necessity.
Yeah, I think that's worth exploring, Keely. It's hard to know because we're not seeing exactly what the strength is. It's also how you complement the different strength sessions within the week as well. Are they overloading certain muscles? We can speak to our strength program. I've uploaded that into your portal. So maybe that's worth you going and having a watch through all the sessions and say to yourself, is this kind of what I'm doing? And if not, and you're still hurting, then maybe it is worth giving this a try to see if this can work. Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
That's a great suggestion. I will do that. About 5 years ago, I injured my right knee very badly. And so I've been really focusing on building the strength of that knee. so that I could enjoy my runs. And I
Yes.
also,
Yeah.
in the morning at home, I have dumbbells. If I'm motivated, I might do some simple ones at home, but I find going out and running is much more motivational and inspiring than trying to do exercise at home by myself. That's
Mm.
why I go to gym.
Yeah. No, and going to the gym is fine, especially if you enjoy classes or being around other people. One thing to just be mindful of with gyms is, especially class-based gyms, is a lot of the time there's a lot of variety, which is fun because it makes it motivating if strength training isn't, say, your favorite or your number one love, which is fine. It doesn't have to be. But the one element without the consistent repetition of the same exercises weeks on weeks on weeks, then when we're doing random things, it just creates random results. So it doesn't actually give you the strength where you need it to benefit your running. With strength training, we're trying to specifically create an adaptation in the muscles, which means loading. And loading up is relative to us. So for one person, loading might be 10 kilos, for another person,
Mm.
loading 60 kilos. That depends on time and how long you've been lifting, et cetera, et cetera. But it's about loading enough, giving enough rest so that the muscle can actually recover and then repeat that process again. So it's a type of training different than circuit training, boot camps, group fitness classes, running. It's really pulling back, being patient, embracing that rest, hard effort, short but hard effort, a lot of rest, which is very unique for runners.
Well, I will certainly look into that because it's
Yeah, it's worth having
clear
a
that
look.
I need to pay more attention to what you're saying. So.
Don't we all? I mean, you know, even Keely and I, who know this from education and practical application, and we know it works, you know, we all fall into the trap of wanting to do the thing that we are excited to do, which is the run, right? But the older you get, the more you will realize our bone mineral density drops, our ability to hold on to muscle drops, and we want to be mountain bikes, not road bikes. It's so, so important for our longevity. We're trying to develop a durability to take the loading off step after step after step because trail runners do more steps in their lifetime than most people will. And I do believe you only have a certain number of footsteps, particularly if you are capping that by not adding that scaffolding to support you. Think of it like the strength is the scaffolding to do the trail run. In the absence of it, we are more likely to be leaping off shaky infrastructure.
Yeah, on that point, I'm actually looking forward to giving my joints a rest for a little while and going to strength-based, training solely just to ease up on the joints and build back up again.
Yeah, with the strength, 6-week strength block. Members, you can go and do that. There is a virtual orientation. If you want a one-on-one session with Keely, it's a 30-minute session with you. There is a separate link. You click that with if you've never done it before, and even if you're following a video. So it is your call if you just want to follow the virtual orientation and feel confident. But if you're not confident, we'll be sending in the post-call wrap-up with the information on how to lock that in. And then you can work with Keely on a time. She'll reach.
I think I probably would benefit having a one-on-one with Keely to make sure that I am set the right way because I tend to be very impatient and get excited to do things. And I know that I could be my worst enemy. So given that I want to do enjoy some big runs, I think this may be my way of refocusing my mindset if I have one-on-one.
Yeah, and I think, you want to run for a long time, hold some restraint in just honoring the process of the 6-week block. Do you agree with that, Keely?
Yeah, it really wouldn't hurt to take just the 6 weeks to just shift gears a little bit. And then if you were well and truly itchy, you could definitely keep like a base run in there, but you don't need to.
Yeah.
Which I know is challenging, but you don't need to.
Yeah. If it's going to affect your mental health to not come to a group session, then absolutely do it. But if you're thinking you're going to decline or reduce your running ability, you'll build it up in bucket loads once you get back to it. So we've got to pull back sometimes to leap forward. I know a lot of people were having questions about that. So Keely, when we get offline, we'll kind of have a conversation if maybe there's a certain time that people want to start. And I will send out the links for people to be able to kind of like enroll for it. Which they can do at your own pace. And if they want to book a one-on-one with you, I'll put the link out for that also. But yeah, I think after people watching Bettina and Cassandra and a bunch of people who did do that 6-week strength block, and both of them And, and Elise too, she's, always doing strength. The fact that none of them had injuries and they all, did really well at these 100K distances, it kind of sold it for itself.
Yeah.
Okay. That was the major questions in that. So let's Beck, how are you going?
Hi, sorry, I'm multitasking. I am actually surprisingly feeling really great. My calf muscles are still screaming at me. I had a little bit of quad issues, but that was it. My hips, fine. Nothing wrong with them.
They did the 22 and good on you. I sent you a message because I was just so proud of
Yeah.
a lot of us in life just find a reason not to do something when it gets hard. And like you had some very justifiable reasons that it wouldn't have been like reneging. But like what you did is you just adapted. You were like, okay, it's not going to look how it was going to look. And that's the thing is like we can do these things if we adapt and reshape it and turn it into a 22. I mean, most people hike a lot of the 22K course anyway. You just accepted that from the
Yeah.
outs. And that's the difference. Like anyone who did the 22 can be like, yeah, like they hiked a lot of it besides going down Canumba and then burning themselves out. You just reframed it and therefore it became possible and you were realistic. And I think, that ability to be realistically optimistic, but like the realistic part is important. And it's like, I think we have to honor where we are. And it doesn't mean that all these things aren't possible. It's just we have to kind of like pivot.
Yeah.
So I think you made a comment about a bit of a strength block too.
Yeah. That's just kind of all going through my head at the moment. I don't know where to go.
Well, you take a week
now,
off, you take 2
but
weeks off to begin with. Like you can do some mobility, absolutely go out for walks. Don't avoid do programming
yeah,
for 2 weeks.
that's going to kill me because I'm ready to go now.
I know
Like
that.
I'm dead set. I was
love
going to go out for a half an hour run this morning, but it was raining.
For all my adrenaline, endorphin bunnied, ultra trail athletes who raced over the weekend or took part in the event, however you want to talk about it, don't run right now. Like, unless an exception would be, oh my gosh, mind blank.
Gianna.
Diana, thank you, Bettina. Besides Diana, who realized UTA 22 as a building block. And even then, I would say take a couple of days. You just need to honor, you need to close it out, not rush it. Keely, how are you feeling? Okay, what's your mindset now?
I feel really good, but I know that I haven't fully crashed yet, so I know that will come. But I don't feel the urge to run, so that's good. And I don't really feel the urge to do anything yet. I'm definitely tight enough. Like I'm a bit sore and stiff. Like I've got to, grunt when I'm going downstairs. So my body's giving me signals of like, you're not really ready for anything beyond mobility right now. But I feel great. But it's probably going to be at least like a week before I really do anything.
If not longer. My
No.
thing, it's a week per week, 13Ks of the race. And whilst I know there's no way I can get you to not do too much for 10 weeks, the thing would be like the lightening of the pressure on it and, a bit more playfulness in terms of lower distance. Because after that loading of hundreds Ks and just that time out, your central nervous system is cooked more than you realize. In fact, if you're feeling good, that is because the hormones that are going through your body right now are telling you something that's not true. And we need to let that flush out. We still need to move the body. There's a reason why professional marathoners do 1 marathon or 2 a year max. But Keely was amazing out there, everyone, for anyone who was following along. I mean, the girl had glitter from the beginning to the end. And I don't know how you kind of did that little jump and dance at the finishing line. You probably thought when you were going up Kadumba, like, that you probably couldn't have done that. And then you get to the finish and you feel safe and you can.
There's something about the finish line that just gives, hearing it from as you're climbing the stairs, you just hear it. And I think anytime you hear something, I mean, there was lots of little parks that you pass through that have no aid station, but it's just the locals and they would set up a speaker and they would be cheering you on and saying your name and they were there just to cheer you. And you could just feel yourself kick up and go faster and pick up and feel fresh. And they'd go, oh, you look great. You look fresh. And it's just crazy what the just hearing and seeing people does to your spirits. Even if you're not in a low place, you're fine, but you just feel the tick kind of go up. So
Do you think it's giving you a break from the monotony? It's like adding a stimulus that's actually not your own stimulus. It's like,
so yeah.
and then there's times when that noise is too much, right? I don't know if you felt in that because you do spread out quite a bit quickly in the 100, so you may not feel that. But
Yeah.
I don't know for Beck or Bettina, was there any Lyndall? Did you ever feel too loaded with the stimulus or did you love it?
I think for me, I bought some brand new headphones a couple of weeks ago and they blew up at about 8Ks in. One of the sides blew up. So it was very, I think I got some sweat in the speakers, which did my head in for about a good 1.5Ks. But I did actually switch between music and listening to the birds scream for life a few times, and I changed my music a few times as well. So it was good to be able to recognize that, okay, this music isn't working for me right now. It's making me go too fast. My heart rate's going up too much. And then I would listen to slower music, but then that would slow me down too much. So it was recognizing the difference between the two and what my body was telling me and just adjusting it. So that was really interesting. I've never done that before. And that was very interesting to mentally note that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the chats on that course immensely. I always find someone to chat to for a couple of Ks. It's always a conversation. Is this your first UTA? And you get chatting away with people. So for someone who trains all the time with podcasts or music, I actually kept them in my bag the whole time.
Yeah. No, I'm quite similar to, I can't listen to music often unless I was in like a really low patch, but I find it too much. But I am happy to engage in like whatever is like the natural kind of whatever is out there.
And up further, it was the whole conversation was who's at the top? What are you most looking forward to? And there was like a whole chain of us and someone would just go, yeah, we're doing this. And then there'd be like a big lot of cheers, just like whatever you needed to push up a couple more stairs.
I mean, Lyndall, you are a UTA training veteran and this year you always kind of the last couple of years have kind of wanted to do the 50 and then like done it and then it's changed. And this year, I thought in the most seamless way, you surrendered to it not being the right thing with no angst and just like very proactiveness. And I think, yeah, you surrendered probably better than I've seen you surrender to what was your set of circumstances. How do you feel about that? Are you proud of yourself? Because I think that's a big growth lesson in itself to not be so rigid just because we want to do something like when we decide that 6 months in advance doesn't mean that when we get to that time frame, it's the right thing. So where are you sitting at now?
Yeah, so my issue was I trained really well for 7-8 weeks and then Achilles instantly on a hill, just pain I've never felt before. So knew that it was potentially going to be a little while. So I had a choice to make. Do I give up again? And maybe that's not the right words, but do I just kind of sell the ticket, resign my fact to the fact that I won't be running UTA this year? And then I just had a moment where it was absolute clarity of, no, I can do the 22. I've got enough time. I can take a couple of weeks out, focus on mobility, do all of those things, nutrition, and then pick back up in the 22 program. And the moment I made that decision, I was so content. I think it was the unknown for me of like, do I, don't I? And it was just, yeah, that clarity for me is something I don't think I've ever felt so convinced about the right decision. So I still got to take part and still got those finish line feels and committed again to go back again and try again next year.
Well, I want to talk about that and like Kelly might have something to say, Bettina. Actually, Jessie's done the UTA 50 twice, so like she can definitely contribute. What is it about UTA? Like that, because for people who've never been there, can you each try and kind of like share something about, why you've done it the first time, what was appealing, but then if you have returned, why you want to return and kind of do it again? Maybe start with Jessie, if you're able, Jessie.
Oh, hello. I think that it's such a huge event. Like, I'm new to trail running, but like it's like an event but times 10. Like, the energy is just crazy, and there's so many people, and like everyone has your back. Like everyone is supporting you. It's like from the moment you pick up your bib, everyone's just excited for you, and just I don't know. It's just like and then when you're running, everyone like calls your name. It's just like something that like I have done a few smaller events, but not once would you ever have that sort of like support from like random people. And like one of the best comments I got when I was running, I was feeling a bit low and this guy just yelled out and he's like, "Go Big J." And I was like, yeah, I am Big J. Yeah, of course. It was just so random and it just kind of like snapped me out of like this mindset. Like I was being a bit flat and then I was like, yeah, I've got this. And I don't know, it's just like in general. And then like the Her Trails women, like everyone is talking. I don't know. It just has everyone's positive and happy and It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not just running by yourself, I don't think. And when you're out there, you're kind of it's such a joy to see other people running as well. Like you're happy for yourself, but you're also just as happy for other people. Yeah. And like other people have struggled to get there as well. So yeah, I think it's a great event.
Well, you went around, obviously, you were supporting the 22Ks at the finishing line for their event, and you were sharing a house with a bunch of Her Trails girls. You went up with a bunch of Queenslanders and then shared house with other people as well. What was it like having people who some you had met before and some you hadn't met before, but you shared like those couple of days with, come and then support you out on the course? What was that like?
Yeah, like a lot of the girls, when you do the coaching calls, you get familiar with their faces and who they are. But then when you meet them in person, it's like amazing. And like
Your best friends for
but
years.
cheering on the 22s, you know, making sure they're okay the night before, making sure their nerves are fine, and then they do the same, which I think is a lot more effort for the people supporting the 50s, because I think the girls did like 20. I know Naomi did like 24,000 steps, and like the girls supporting us did something like 20,000. It's just like they're gone all day and all night. And then I was in no state to get up at midnight to see Keely running. I couldn't even walk, but the girls, stayed up to midnight, saw Keely running, and then some girls went to bed and then got up to see Chewy running at 3 a.m. Like, it's just like, I don't know any other event that everyone is that invested for other people.
Now, I'm going to even add, or any other community of people who have not met each other before. Like, it is very unique. I do think if you're ever at an event with multiple Her Trails, we are always pretty much the only group of people that are there to the end. Our community are happy to do it. It's not like they're feeling an expectation or responsibility. We very much talk about, you do what you need to do. And whilst you said it's tough for the 22ers, I think it's tough for the 50s to also be out for the 22ers when they've got their event the next day, and you don't think that you're exhausting yourself, but you are a little bit, but it's worth it. So like you kind of like you balance it all up. But no, it is a unique race. And it's also, those mountains are freaking epic. Like you get the 50s and the 100s got an amazing view. And then the 22ers who got to support the 50s and 100s, when you may not have got to see the views on your overcast day, you then treated to like not have to run and see them, which was such a pleasure.
Yeah, they got the views the next day in the support, which was really nice for them. It was actually hot, and I remember sweating. I don't know if you were sweating, Keely. I was like, oh my God, I thought I was looking forward to the coolness of the Blue Mountains, and it was actually hot. Yeah.
Did you find it hot too, Keely?
Oh yeah, no, it was hot. I was like, this Tassie based gal is but to be fair, there were people from Queensland and Brisbane, and a lot of men in particular, their shorts were drenched in sweat. It was humid, and I don't normally sweat salt, and I was sweating salt. I had salt all over my top, my face. Yeah, it was warm.
Yeah, when I saw Chrissy, because I saw everyone coming up out of QV and for the 50, and everyone was in a different place. It was everyone had a different thing. But everyone looked pretty great. And I remember Chrissy going, I think I haven't drunk enough, because it's very deceiving. The section before QV, it's quite runnable and you're feeling quite good. And then you kind of, most people push that section a little bit too quick. And Chrissy's like, oh, I think I might have. And I was like, can you just, because I don't know what her electrolyte situation is like. I'm like, can you lick your hand, please? And so she licked her hand and was like, high salt. And I'm like, okay, we need to get more salts in. We need to get some electrolytes in. So it's, and Jessie, what did we have? What was our conversation at QV? Do you remember?
Yeah, you were force feeding me to have like a gel.
Yes. And you were the most like.
I was like pushing back a little bit, but you were like, that's it. And then you're putting gels in my pocket, moving things from one pocket to my pants and being like, okay, this side's your caffeine, this side's your, I was just like, oh, actually it was very good, because later on because I didn't think, but I had caffeine Panadol.
Yes,
about 27 Ks in, because my knee, which I've never had a problem before, started to hurt. And then you were like, well, you're going to crash now if you don't continue the caffeine. Because I didn't expect to have it that early. So it was good. Although my caffeine gel's on that side, yeah, it was helpful. But you were like,
I was like, get another gel in, do it now.
Yeah, it was funny.
You just need more than you think. And at any point when you're hiking and your heart rate is down, that is your opportunity. And when you go down Kadumba, for as long as it is, your guts, it's so hard to eat down that thing, because you're like, and like, how can you get calories down and not feel sick? So you've got to do it beforehand, before you get to the emergency, before you You could do it again at the emergency aid station or liquid nutrition. But you did great. You remember,
Yeah.
Jessie.
I
Was
remember
perfect.
you saying something in a coaching call, and it was like when you start to trip, you need to eat. And I started to just not trip fall over, but I could feel my feet just tripping a little bit, like I was kicking a rock and this and that. And I was like, oh my God, I need more nutrition. And then I took in more nutrition, and then I stopped stumbling a little bit when I ran. So that was something that really stuck with me from a previous coaching call that I'd never really thought about before. But yeah, I think you just start to fatigue not having the calories. And then as soon as I took in a little bit more calories, it stopped. Yeah.
Isn't
Which
it
was
great? We have to think about this for real life because, and I'm going to admit it, I'm sometimes really good as an athlete. Like when I'm in race zone, I get it all right. Like I feel like the stakes are so high and the fall off the cliff in the absence of getting it right is dramatic. But what about the stakes being high in our everyday life when we don't invest in our type of stuff? It may not feel as dramatic, but we start to see a compounding effect. And for everyone who's just raced, that you treated yourself like a peak performing machine, take lesson for that for your everyday life. When things aren't feeling good, whether it's mental or physical, go back to that race mindset of what worked for you when you demanded the most. You learn a lot about yourself when you race. And it shouldn't be in isolation to the trails.
Honestly, I've never really carb loaded before a run.
Mm.
So that's why I went up on the Wednesday, because last year I did not eat and I did not drink anything before my race last year on the Thursday. So I went in cooked already.
Yeah.
But this year, that's why I went on the Wednesday, so that I had the Thursday to carb load and make sure I was drinking.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great carb load, but I carb loaded and I made sure I drank water. And I think that was one of the things that helped me. I didn't get dizzy and I didn't feel sick. So I think that's the one thing I noticed. I noticed so many things, but that's another thing that I did notice was the carb loading the day before.
Gave Keely a call last night and I was like, write down everything that worked.
Yeah.
Like, you'll always remember the shit that didn't work. Like somehow you'll remember and you'll create things that did work, but then you'll say they didn't. Write down now whilst you're kind to yourself what you did well and what you're proud of your. There's a bit of time before. I mean, I know it sounds so crazy because it's a year till UTA, but for anyone who is listening to all this and is interested, I highly recommend that you reach out to one of the people who did, the UTA and ask them their personal experience, what they liked. You can hear it from me, but I think it's really great to hear from people who just did a training block to know the commitment because they do feel. Bettina made a great comment. She's like, is it normal that there wouldn't be more than 15 to 30 minutes where I wouldn't think about it? And I'm like, yeah, it's normal. It's being all in and it's beautiful. It's full on. That's why you need to let the pendulum swing afterwards. But it's also just like so nice to invest fully in something that's good for you. But I do think you need to start thinking about it now because I think entries open around, it's like September, or even, what is it? Oh, Linda will know this. When's it, Linda?
Usually mid-September.
Yeah. And you just want to be ready. So like you don't want to be getting to September when they go 3 days till we make our decision. You really kind of want to be putting your thought into it because that builds anticipation, but it also builds the mindset to be ready to even commit, the financial expense to the registration. Like if you're thinking about it, start to save a bit of money every week to be able to pay your registration fee come September. Just put a little bit aside for it. And then, I think it helps you budget plan. There, in terms of like her trail community events, I'm always going to advocate for those because year after year, I see that the races where we have multiple women committing to the training block and then committing to being there and fully being there, particularly for the weekend, not just for the race, but transform people's, I'll say it, lives and social structure. And it is a bloody fun it's a girl sleepover, girls gone wild. I mean, it's kind of like almost like coming up is we've got Surf Coast, GPT. We also crew that one too. And Koski, those are kind of like the next ones coming up where we will have a lot of our community out. So if that kind of vibe is of interest to you, and then it goes to Buffalo, it'll always be UTA. Is there any other questions, thoughts, reflections? Linda, what are you doing now for the second half of the year?
Well, I'd love to give UTK a go, to be honest. The elevation isn't so extreme. And still got a little bit of time on that one. So that's what I'm working on for now. And there's a group, Megan, myself, and a friend who's just started at the Newcastle group runs, are going to go do Hounslow 17, I think. Not
Okay.
the big one. Not the big one.
No,
Oh, yeah.
when you know it, you get to train out there.
That's in September.
Yes, I'll tell you which program would be good. We actually have a Hounslow 42K specific program. I know there are some people who are doing the Melbourne Marathon, and I have built the Melbourne Marathon program to have kind of two streams to it. One is like kind of, more foundational, like entry level. You could have done those distances before, but maybe you haven't done road for a long time, or you haven't done a marathon for a long time. But then also within each of the streams is kind of, pre-perimenopause, phase of life. And then it's kind of like menopause phase where the long runs are shorter in distance and a little bit more strength. And that's the same also if I call it the performance stream. And so we have both of those, and you can move between the two of them, particularly at certain junctures, but you'll see both of them within your program. So it kind of gives you a sense of how to play with it. So that's that. And then I will share with everyone that it's an exciting second half of the year. But yeah, UTK is amazing. I've personally done the 50 when it was a little bit more elevation than what it is now.
Oh, compared to yesterday, it was a dream.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
So at Lyndall, you can ask Yolanda, but Yolanda, share us about Westmac.
Oh, fuck. I tell you. I'm from Darwin, so like I'm used to heat and humidity. I train in a sports bra and shorts all the time. So whenever I go run anywhere else, I find it really hard to know what to wear. And so after COSI last year, I was like, no, you're in t-shirt and shorts. That's just what you need to do. And then it decided to rain in Alice Springs over the weekend, which is unprecedented. It was the first Westmax where it's rained. And at the pre-race briefing, they scared the shit out of us about the rain. So I was like, right, no, I'm going to wear leggings. And I just completely overheated and dehydrated going up the high route, wearing what I didn't have enough water, and it was just like all downhill from there. I ended up getting the sweep to cut my pants off because I was so hot and I was just so sick. So it just went to shit. But that's okay. Lessons. Always wear shorts is one of the lessons.
Yeah, I think in that environment, loose shorts, because you just need some air. You could tight leggings, but even looser pants would have been better because you just need to get that airflow. Like when anything is stuck to you, that's why, I'm a big fan of like looser tops and all that kind of stuff. Not like so swampy, that's my normal style, but like looser that you can actually breathe. Like obviously, the course a little bit, and you spend some time out there, right?
I'm down here like every 3 or 4 weeks. And so that was the thing. Like I've spent so much time on Larapinta, but I've never done Section 3 high route before. So like there's no running. It's like scrambling, rock climbing, bouldering. And then I had to swim and I was like, oh, fuck's sake. So then that just screwed my feet even more. At that point, I was like, there is no way I'm climbing up those rocks to get around this water because they've had so much rain the last few months, and then it rained over the weekend for like 36 hours. I was just like, I don't trust myself to climb that and not hurt myself. So I opted to swim. And so wet feet, wet socks, wet shoes, all the rocks. Yeah. So I was happy not to make cutoff because I didn't have to make the decision where I was like, no, I shouldn't go on. So it was like decision made for me. I was quite happy with the 42Ks.
The 42K is a beast. If anyone's been out on the Lark, what some people think is impossible, other people have just versed themselves in it time and time again. And it takes years and years to become prepared for ultra events, let alone technical ones at that. And then add in the climate and then carrying your pack. There's so many layers to it, which is why people repeat a race, because you don't get what you want you get a part of it, and you should love what you received in the first innings, but it's a mastery. You build this over years. I personally love that. You did 42Ks. You need to recover just as much as if you finish the whole thing. Kayla did the same thing as well.
She must have got in just before me because I saw her. And then when I checked her tracker, it looked like she got in not much sooner than me. So
No.
and even she, because she was like, because said that she did UTA 50 and she was like, oh, this would be a nice little upgrade, go 65.
Just because you are able to do the distance on one terrain doesn't mean that it translates across. Like there's so many lessons that you pull.
So I was like, I run on this all the time. And then you go do the high route and it's like, yeah, no, this is not
Yeah.
what you usually run on.
And if you chose to do it again, I would say you put the effort into traveling a little bit longer on those times you go out there. You go and do the hardest section of it.
And that was the plan leading into this, is I'd stay an extra day for work and I'd gone out to the high route, but the buffer grass was also another thing. And so I like went out there maybe 4 weeks ago, and I literally got 3Ks in from Stanley, and I was like, I can't see the rocks, I can't see snakes, like not doing this. And so thankfully the trail fairies had fixed most of it, but it just, yeah, there's just so many things that influence, but it's fine. Lots of lessons. I
Yeah.
can't
You spent
say-
42 Ks out on an incredible terrain. You went out there and now you get to kind of go, well, what do I want to do next? Because yeah, I really want you to consider yourself having completed that race in the sense of honor recovery the same way. Don't feel you got to jump to the next thing. Like I want you to do a recovery block and then I'll send you some prompts just like I will everyone else. And you can kind of start to kind of percolate like, how to lead this adventurous life in the continuum. I think that's the fun stuff. You get to actually, when you pause, you get to be so intentional and focused about the next, not jumping to the next, but dreaming about the next. Amazing. Well, I'm proud of you. Amazing. Well, all of you, thank you for contributing and sharing. Sleep as much as you can. Lyndall, Beck, Keely, Yolanda, you need to sleep. Quality sleep. I want you to start to document how many hours you're getting per night.
Last night was my best night since, to be honest. I found the first 2 nights, we had the party as well, which didn't help, but just turning the brain off was really tough and waking up quite early without an alarm, just naturally waking up early. Whereas last night, my watch was almost like singing this morning, like, that was the best optimal sleep ever. And I was like, yes.
So you were
So
also
I felt a lot more rested today, but I went for a walk yesterday. I was out for a walk during this call today just with the dog, as flat as I can get it, just to get the calf moving a little bit.
Yeah. Like I feel like until everyone was finished, like my heart was out on the trail and like kind of, there with them and like Lyndall, you couldn't be there for this Saturday, but holy moly, what an example of someone who doesn't have to be there. That sometimes Lyndall knew information before I found it out. And I was like, it was because of you actually, Lyndall. Was it you? Or maybe it was Anne. That you said something and made us go off. Let's go and find Keely. Let's see if we can find her at the aquatic center. And we're going to go to see Bettina. And we're like, can we make it? It was tight. And they're like,
No, that wasn't me, but I was impressed. Whoever was tracking things like that was impressed.
You did a lot of the finishing line. You were very much saying, okay, this person's about to, they're up the steps now because you have no reception at the finishing line. So to have someone who could help us with that, it meant that we knew how to allocate our time.